I'm Mark Dresner, and this is the Research Insider, a special interview series delivering the insight scoop from experts and leaders in consumer and shopper research. The Research Insider is brought to you by the annual Shopper Insights in Action Conference, uniting the world's top manufacturers and retailers to activate intelligence and drive basket growth. Joining me today is Leigh O'Donnell. She is with the Customer Strategy and Insights Group at Mars Pet Care. Leigh, welcome to the Research Insider.
Hi. Thanks for having me.
It's great to have you. Everybody talks about insights to action these days, right? That's a very, very big area. Why do you think this is such a hot topic among researchers?
Well, primarily because it's not always executed correctly, right? Insights to action is tied together. It's virtually handcuffed. There's no reason to do insights if what you end up with when you're finished is instead of aha, right? Mm-hmm. You really need to create a plan both before, during, and after the insight sequence that takes you from the idea into action.
So when's a good time to start talking about action when you're sitting down?
It is never too early to start talking about action when you're talking about insights. We like to get going with an action plan even before we've begun to sell in the project internally. We work primarily with retailers, and we go in with a sort of a partnered scheme to sell in the insights and the action together, and we play specific roles about how we will involve ourselves. In some organizations, there's a little bit of a clean hand and a dirty hand around making sure that insights are fairly pure. That way, when you use your co-pilots, it's much easier to ask for what it is that you need.
Right. Now, researchers, action is not their responsibility. Certainly, you obviously think that it is certainly part of your role. How do you handle that? How do you deal with it?
So action is part of the plan. Researchers do not have to be the executors of the action, right? So think about it like a relay race. Ultimately, we devise the plan for the four-part relay, if you will, at the beginning. And we are designing and executing a fabulous research plan, but we bring our co-pilots on early in the game to start to set the stage for action. And we ask questions like, where would we like to go with this together? What do we think would happen if we were able to prove this kind of a result? And we make sure that we almost literally role play, not good cop and bad cop, but idea and action as two separate things, so that when we then get further down the cycle, our action partners can really start to shepherd us into the right space.
I'll bet that gets your internal partners thinking a little bit. How do they respond to that kind of approach?
You know, we need ammo to break through with our internal partners, right? Because Shopper Insights is such a nascent discipline, retailers are often so very grateful to receive Shopper Insights. Our internal partners who work with our consumer insights colleagues have been at this a long time. They need specific tactics to help drive action. And when we think about it as going in both ways, towards the retailer and then back into our own organization, it's really especially powerful.
What's a good way to get going then?
Well, ask for action, right? So really plan it into your cycle. We like to think about it as kind of a before, during, and after. When we do sort of before insights or when we're planning for insights, we like to sit down and really kind of sweat the details with our internal partners as well as with our retailer partners and ask, will folks go with us on the journey literally as we go into research? We ask them things like, what keeps them up at night? Because ultimately, if we can make our plan our stakeholders' plan, we know that we're going into it with a really strong set of tactics. Because frankly, we've got enough flexibility built into every plan so that we can make sure that we can tailor it as we go. If we're lucky enough to get our key stakeholders literally to go with us to research, then we've got an ace in the hole. But we try to make the plan flexible even as we go, right? We advise our moderators and our research partners that as we start to peel the onion, once we've heard it once or twice, we try to go deeper, right? We try to really build that flexibility so we can start to build towards an action sequence even while the research is going on. And then after the research, it's all about workshopping, right? Yeah. So hopefully upstream, you've got some hypotheses that you've really been pressing against, right? And by the time you come back from research, you've got a nice body of materials. If you can then get your key stakeholders in the room and start to ask, what kind of appetite do you have for sometimes like a, will you nibble a little? Or are you ready to blow the whole thing up, right? And depending on the level of appetite that they have, and sometimes it's a little bit in one place and a lot in others, we're prepared to partner to really get them to that little or big wow.
Thanks for sitting down with us. This is great stuff.
I'm so glad.
Yeah, great to have you. And that concludes this episode of the Research Insider. If you'd like to learn more about the Shopper Insights in Action Conference, please visit us at www.shopperinsightsevent.com. Until next time, I'm Mark Dresner, and you've just heard the Insight Scoop.